Hello, everybody. After a 2-week absence, did you miss me? How are we doing? I've tweeted everything out. Welcome back. Let's see. We have Unknown Gaming did miss me. What's up, Mary Sue? Tempest, Elvia. What's up, Elvia?
Hiya, papaya.
Roy the boy, Veronica. What's up, Veronica? How are you? Stevie bringing his new Brazilian girlfriend on stream? Question mark. If only. What's up, Valens, Reen, Liker, Kyle? You know what? We need some music in here, don't we? Let's see.
Hiya, papaya.
Let's see what we can do. I think this is set to what I had before, right? Do we like this? Is this a weird? This is kind of a weird track for background music right now, isn't this? Hold on. We can do better than this, I think. Let's go. I really love the Fire Emblem Awakening Duty piano version, but I kind of use that for a lot of things, so maybe I shouldn't just keep using that here. Yeah, I need an extended version of some of the other good Awakening tracks. What's up, folks? Hold on. Let me find some good music here that we can use. That will be suitable for the background for a little while. Saucy, my friend. Thank you for the resub. 2 months, Saucy. Hats off to you. Thank you. Glad I didn't lose you there for the 2 weeks that I was gone. Let's see. How about... now that I'm playing this Sacred Stones music for this long, I'm starting to like it. Enjoy it in the background. All right, hold on. How about this? All right, this will have to do for now. But welcome, folks. Let me catch up with chat here. Wandering Mercenary, Gabe Ruiz, what's up? Reen said, I missed the Fire Emblem 4 remake announcement. Yeah, it seems like we all missed it. It seems like it's not happening yet, officially. But I still believe, I still have hope. Falcon Flayer, what's up? Thank you. Luoma, why would Stevie want a Brazilian girlfriend when he has the Dimitri waifu pillow? Yeah. Well, Pikachu's kind of enjoying that right now. Did airport security question why you had a Dimitri body pillow in your luggage? No, because I didn't have it in my luggage, thankfully. Goat, what's up? Did you see the new Kagero duo in Faye? I saw it. I haven't opened Faye in like 2 weeks, though, unfortunately. So if that banner dropped, which it probably did at this point, yeah, I might have to get on that soon. Did you get robbed in Brazil? Asked Serene. I did not. There's definitely... What was the most interesting thing about this trip in its entirety is nothing was without a story. I couldn't even go to get money from the ATM without a crazy story happening on this trip. And I think that's kind of my favorite part, is that I almost feel like I lived 6 months worth of life in 2 weeks, in a good way. It just, everything had purpose and meaning and flow to it. It's not regular life. When you settle back into going home, I feel like things can be boring sometimes. That trip was not boring at all. I got said from the new banner on my second pull. Broken luck, says Wandering Mercenary. That's awesome. Good for you. Yeah, I saw people were sharing that said and is it Plumeria or Triandra? I think it's Triandra. That they both came out at the same time and now got ascended versions at the same time, which is interesting. Gamer Swordsman, what's up? I'm sure you are on your 16th playthrough. My male Aleer playthrough has been interesting. HP, defense, and res is great, but his strength was only at 8 when I promoted him. Why does that sound familiar? It's only gotten it more often as a wolf knight. I don't know if you're trying to say that he
Hiya, papaya.
still isn't getting strength or he's actually getting more of it as a Wolf Knight, but that's kind of impressive. Wolf Knight does not have the best growth for strength. So interesting. Nexo says Fire Emblem echoes incest of the Holy War. Gabe says I've had a nice 2 weeks. One Piece live action was great. I've been seeing people talk about that so far. Now I haven't actually watched like a real review. I'm not a huge One Piece fan, to be honest with you. But you know what is interesting? Let me see if I can find a picture really quick to put up for you. While I was in Rio, they had a Netflix One Piece live action, what do you call it? There was an actual ship on the beach, on Copacabana Beach, advertising the show. And I was going to take pictures with it. Even though I don't care about One Piece, I was going to take pictures with it just to do it. But then it was gone the day that I went to go do it. So they just took it down. But let me see if I can find it. One Piece. Let me see if I can find a picture. I got one. And it's so funny because as soon as I arrived in Rio and we were headed to the airport, we passed this part on the beach and I saw everyone wearing Luffy hats and I was like, is that just like a thing? Like, is that like a real hat that it's based off of, where it's just like in Rio people wear those hats or something? But no, it's because this was literally on the beach somewhere. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little sad I didn't get a picture with it, but they took it down within the last couple of days. I don't know the exact day, but all I know is that it was a little bit far from the hotel, a little bit far of a walk, and I had a lot going on in terms of like the events that the trip had planned out, so I didn't get to go there until it was too late, unfortunately. But yeah, that was interesting. I really wanted to take that picture with it and post to Twitter like I don't like One Piece or something, just to troll and see what people would have said to that. But yeah, unfortunately not. Let's see. Catching up here. Elvia said, I would have thought they'd be rushing to announce the Fire Emblem 4 remake since they were so quick to finish up the Engage DLC. That's exactly what I was thinking, but I honestly wonder at this point if maybe what happened is they rushed the DLC for Engage because they thought they were going to do that, and then maybe Nintendo announced the new Switch version behind the scenes and they said, oh god, now the new Switch version is coming out next year, we might as well wait for the Genealogy remake till next year and have it come out on the Switch 2 or whatever it's going to be. I just feel like it has to do with something with that, but obviously I don't know for sure. I guess we'll have to find out. But it could have been that they were planning on doing that originally and then they had to switch up. So yeah. Will, what's up, Will? I'm the 34th steward of the dragon. We've been waiting 1,000 years for you to awaken, Divine One. Hopefully not, but yeah, who knows how some of the timelines work. Let's see. Saucy says, I missed last stream because my family got flooded. I'm really sorry to hear that, Saucy. That's not good. They actually, I had a story when I first bought this place. The basement wasn't finished and I was having it finished to put this little studio office here because my younger brother lives with me and it's a 2-bedroom place. And so I needed another room to do this basically and not be interrupted. And I was having the basement finished and I came over one day randomly before things were done and I went down to the basement. It was just right after like winter had ended and things had thawed and we'd had like a rainy couple of days and my basement it wasn't flooded, but there was water all along like the left side of it on the floor. And then I had to get some fans and it was this whole fiasco and it was really unfortunate. It was scary because meanwhile, I'm like paying to have drywall put up and stuff. And if that water gets on that, you're going to have mold and problems and have to redo all of it. So it was not a fun time. But now they're actually doing some landscaping outside that should hopefully prevent that from ever happening again. So that's good. But yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. That's not good. Hopefully you're doing all right. Likers asking, you gonna pull for the new horny fairy though? Probably not. I gotta save the orbs. I don't think I have any orbs, but I gotta save the orbs for Kagero. You know how it works. What we playing tonight? Tonight we're just gonna talk for a little bit. That's the plan for today. I'm kind of tired. I don't know how people sleep on the like night flights. I really was looking forward to doing that on the way down and the way back. Like, oh, I have a 12-hour flight. I have a 9-hour flight. Both like on each way, I had a one long flight that kind of did most of the legwork to get to Argentina or to leave from Rio in Brazil. And I was like, you know what? Overnight flight, that's amazing. I'll be on the plane. I can pass out. It's fine. And then there on the plane, it just didn't happen. And it was horrible. I don't know how people do that. You're like cramped. Well, first off, you can't control who's next to you. So you could very well get anything from a screaming child to a larger dude. And then your arms are literally just on top of each other in the seat. Maybe your legs are even touching. So you're like confined in a bad way. Personally, I have one of those neck pillows that is supposed to help you like lay back and sleep, and it just doesn't work, and your legs are stuck. You don't have a lot of leg room. It's horrible. It's I think they really need to seriously consider changing the way that airplanes are laid out or something, you know. And I remember they used to advertise this one pillow where you could open up the tray table and the pillow would like go on top of it like a big mound, and then you could like lean forward and sleep. And I really think if I had that, I think I could have made it work. But leaning back and sleeping, I couldn't do it. It was awful. So I'm pretty exhausted. That's why we're not going to play anything today. Just wanted to pop in, catch back up, see how you guys are doing, chat a little bit, and we'll get back to the normal flow of things next week. Naruto MK says, I think Luffy is supposed to be Brazilian. Yeah, I think maybe they're doing that because of the actor. Maybe that's why. Likers asking, so the elephant in the room, did you do anything fun in Brazil? Yeah. The question is, what stories stay in Brazil and what stories come here? I'm debating. Let me just catch up with chat and I'll start telling the story. Renato David, I'm from Brazil, but I've never been in Rio. I enjoyed it. There's some annoying things about it. Like if you go to Copacabana Beach, which is the really popular one, of course, we actually had a hotel basically across the street from the beach, which was awesome. But being a white guy in Brazil, and even though I have a tan, it's apparently not dark enough. What's crazy to me is there's such a variety of people's appearances and skin colors and stuff in Brazil. In fact, there's even like lighter skinned Brazilians. Even still, they knew that I was a gringo and exactly what I was, that I was a foreigner. And even like the clothes do give it away for sure. But I also felt that if I just walked around with just a bathing suit, they still knew. They still would have known. They just know. See, for me, I wouldn't assume, but I guess if you live there full time, people just must have a certain sense about them, or the way they look around, the way they walk or something. I don't know. But yeah, so we got kind of assailed constantly by people trying to sell their wares on the beach, whether it was like shrimps on sticks or sunglasses or bathing suits and outfits. It was crazy, the wide variety of stuff that people would walk around selling on the beach. It was fairly annoying because you had to like constantly be like, no thank you, or like kind of ignore them until they went away if they just stood there like looking at you, which is rude and mean and it doesn't feel good, but it's like, dude, I said no and you're not leaving. So yeah. Sony has purchased Fire Emblem because they got tired of waiting. Valen says, if they're waiting for the Switch 2 to announce Fire Emblem 4, I'm gonna be pissed.
Attention, all Fire Emblem, epic, sexy gamers. I bring you an urgent announcement.
At the airport, did you make sure to get the complimentary cavity search that security always likes giving me? No, this time I did pretty well. Although on the flight back into Miami, the Miami airport was an absolute mess. Oh my God, it was just not run very well at all. One guy, so the other weird thing about airports too is like some of them have different rules. Like the airport where I live, you take off your shoes and all of your phones and electronic devices have to come out of your bags into the bins. The Miami one, they're like, nah, you can keep the shoes on, take your phone out of your pocket and put your phone inside your bag. I don't know why that makes sense at all, but I don't know, that's kind of weird. You would think that they'd have an easier time like scanning it and looking at it if it was outside of the bag instead of layered on top of a million things in your bag, but okay. And then I was asking the guy like, okay, what about my belt? If you're telling me not to take off my sneakers, what about my belt? And he's like, oh, the belt should be fine. The belt should be fine. A guy like literally 5 steps from him was like, dude, you got to take that off. So it's, I don't know why, but no matter where you go, people just don't know what they're doing. But no full cavity searches. I was lucky this time. Although actually on the way back to Miami, leaving Brazil, I got selected by the US government to be pulled aside and had my stuff tested or whatever, where they take that little like stick thing and they roll it around your bag trying to find if you have, I don't know, I guess chemicals or something. Thanks, US government. I love you. I live here. I would definitely do something bad on the way in. Thanks. Yeah, no, I lucked out though. There was one time where I walked through the scanner and I guess they had like a weird dark spot in my groin area or somewhere, and they had to pat me down then, but that didn't happen this time, thankfully. What's up, Wi-Fi? I think sometimes you need to be sleepy before you get on the plane, and thus your body is like, don't care, go to sleep. True. Well, I don't know. It's just so uncomfortable. Like, it's not a natural sleeping position for me to be in like that I really struggled. I really did. Yeah. Legs touching? How romantic, says Roy the Boy. I don't know how romantic it is when it's like a 50-year-old hairy dude whose leg is oh. They were trying to radicalize you. Seems like it worked. No, shut up. Never. You need to twist the pillow around. It's supposed to support your neck leaning forward. What? I don't know what you're saying. I think you're screwing with me, Will. It goes around the back like that. So everybody wears it. You just tell me to do weird stuff. No, but I'm serious though. There is a pillow that is like a big McDonald's Grimace looking mound that sits on a tray table that you kind of just lean into and hug. And I actually think that would have worked for me. I really kind of want that. I don't know how you travel with that thing and fit that in your bag, but I think that would do the trick for me. Lucky smoked Brazilian weed confirmed. I don't know why you're saying that, but I can neither confirm nor deny that story, I guess. It's not really my thing. Bro, you're so white, no one would confuse you as anything else. I could be Brazilian. I have a little bit of Brazilian heritage. Just because I'm lighter skinned doesn't mean I'm not Brazilian. Come on. Come on. Were you the tallest person there? Now that you say that and point it out, I was definitely on the taller end of the spectrum for sure. I didn't really notice, like it didn't seem weird though, if that's what you mean. But you're probably right. I think I was. What's up, Otaku? How was the trip? The trip was amazing. It's kind of generic and stereotypical when people say like it was life-changing, but I actually do really feel like it was. Like there was a good part of me that didn't really want to come back after, and I think that's how you know that you've had a good trip. But there was just so many crazy things that happened across the wealth of the trip that it was just so fun and interesting. There was never a dull moment. You didn't learn the magic words? Soy pobre? Is that I'm poor? Is that what you're saying? That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. Well, the thing is, in Brazil, they speak Portuguese. Some people know Spanish and some people do know English there, but it's largely Portuguese. And actually, Portuguese is part of my heritage too. And it's Portuguese and Brazilian is more what my family identifies with, even though for me personally, they're like smaller parts. Like I think I'm like a fourth of each of those. No, I'm less than that. My mom is a fourth of both of those. But I was a little disappointed to find that the Portuguese was much more challenging than the Spanish. Portuguese to me seemed, because before this, I only really knew like the swear words and like bad things that my family passed down, not like actual Portuguese language. So I was a little disappointed to find that Portuguese just seems like they took Spanish and they made it like worse and more convoluted and bad. I don't know. It's like you could recognize some of the words, but they're skewed and twisted in ways that it's like, why didn't you just, if you're gonna rip off Spanish, just keep the Spanish then instead. I don't know. Yeah, it's maybe I would grow to like it later. Maybe I'm just being harsh, but in Argentina I had to speak Spanish while I was there, and Argentina was more Spanish speaking than Brazil, and I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the challenge of trying to use the Spanish that I learned throughout middle school and high school to try to communicate there. And I found it obviously much easier there than I did in Rio. So, yeah. The FBI was to follow up on the sussy dark spot from Hydra. Thanks, Hydra. Guess the feds don't want you messing around with hairy 50-year-old dudes. The couch looks so small with the camera is where the camera's pointed, you're saying? To be honest, it's not that big of a couch. It ends over here. It's just this little futon. You want to hear a gross story? It's actually from the dump. Someone was throwing it out. But it was in such great shape and like clean looking that I think it like wasn't actually a nasty one, you know? They just didn't want it anymore. So I took it and I was like, you know what? Now I've got a therapy couch for my office. I've always thought it would be fun to do a live stream at some point that's like a live therapy thing where I get to be a therapist or something. I think it'd be funny. I got to find the right context for it to make it make sense with everything else. But it would be funny. Impassable V, what's up? Oh, no, never mind. That's a bot. That's a bot.
$19 Fortnite card. Who wants it? And yes, I'm giving it away. Remember, share, share, share. And trolls, don't get blocked.
Oh, it's been a long time since I heard that. Black Eye Studios. Did you ever restart XCOM 2? We will be doing that. I don't know if it'll be next week. It may not be next week, but in the near future I will be. Stay tuned. Thank you. Gabe says, light-skinned Brazilians exist, but can tell by how they speak. Yeah, but even without me saying anything, I feel like they knew what I was. You know? Will says, all the Brazilians I know were white passing, and you just don't have it? The crit chord breaks into a flash fury of Star Wars discourse every so often. Ever dared to consider playing a favorite Star Wars game of your choosing?
Kill every last one of them.
I thought about turning this off for today, but then some of you in the Discord mentioned, ooh, I just took it apart again. Some of you in the Discord mentioned that as long as Dimitri mode is there, everything is good. So I didn't. That I'm doing it for you. I figured maybe after 2 weeks you might look forward to forcing me to wear an eye patch, and who am I to take that away from you, I guess. Hold on, let me fix this though. Let's make sure this actually works. What's up, Dota? How are you doing? I'm well. Thankfully, this isn't gonna ruin my night today. All right. Although reading chat is now harder.
In the name of the goddess, stand
And the death
before
sprays.
her.
I should have known that was coming next. I'm tired. Give me a minute. All right. This is a little sketchy the way I have this set up right now, so give me a second. It's not bad. Let me just fix the lighting. All right. What's up, Miss Modern Mayhem? Thank you for the welcome back.
Hiya, papaya.
Valens is saying technically you can do content creation from anywhere, so have fun moving to Brazil.
You are my child.
No,
now.
not my legs. What? Yeah, Valens was saying technically you could do content creation from anywhere, so have fun moving to Brazil. I honestly would think about that. I don't think it's gonna like happen immediately or anything, but there were some great people there that I wouldn't mind seeing again. And technically could. I would worry about the internet speeds though. I bet you it's not great unless I paid a lot of money in a really ritzy spot or something, so. Portuguese is a fake language. Changed my mind, says Will. I'm not going to argue that, honestly, because I was kind of disappointed with it, too.
Hiya, papaya.
What's up, Kai? Good to have you back, Stevie. Work was hell this week, and I needed Lucky and friends to end things off on. I thought that sentence was going somewhere completely different, but thank you, Hydri. Cheers. Sorry that's been bad. No Duolingo learning, says Luoma. I didn't actually, but you know what's funny is I got my haircut before the trip at this Spanish-owned place, and the guy who was cutting my hair clearly, like, he wasn't speaking to me very much because I felt that he probably couldn't. And then by the end, someone else asked me to like test him or something, or like see if he speaks good English. And so he started speaking to me, and then I was like, actually, your English is pretty good. And he was like, Duolingo, I've been using it for 2 months or something like that. 2 months, and it was pretty good. So yeah, maybe that's the way to go. Maybe I should have done that. Soy pobre is universal. Okay. Renato says, I think it's not much about your skin, but probably things like your clothes, talk, and the way of walk. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if I had just a bathing suit, I feel like you can't really discriminate like bathing suits because they have some wacky ones too. So if I just had only a bathing suit, if I didn't say anything, because sometimes they would walk up to me and immediately just know before they heard me say or do anything. So yeah, it would have to be like the way that I move or walk or the way I'm looking around. I don't know. It's just crazy. Or they just assumed and they got it right. Do you ever miss your kitchen studio, says Roy the Boy. I miss... Not exactly that. I would say I miss those times because that was a simpler era of life for me when I was still living with my family. Things have gotten very challenging since then. So there's still been some good moments, especially with this trip and recently, but things were just a lot easier back then in the basement kitchen. Taking furniture from the trash is peak college student living, says Valence. Yeah, well, I'm not a college student anymore, but it was nice, okay? I went to the dump to get rid of something else and I saw it and it was nice. Okay? I missed Megamind as much as I missed Lucky. Aw, thanks, Reed. You need to give Poops a therapy session after the direct. Poops? Who's Poops? It's the hair, Lucky, says Reen. That's possible. That's possible. You pronounced Busan wrong before? Or Busan wrong before? It's Henky. Tristan, 10 months, saying, welcome back, Stevie. I know everyone is happy to see you. Tristan, thank you, thank you, thank you. 10 months, my friend. Wow. I can't believe it's been that long. This year, the past couple years have simultaneously felt like 10 and also like 2 months. It's very weird in that way now. Nothing was ever the same again. Dota says, I'm really sick right now. I haven't been sick in years. This sucks. I'm sorry, Dota. That's not fun. I got some kind of cold or something from the trip. I don't think I slept a single night more than like 6 hours on this trip. Which is how you know that I lived it pretty good, but man, was I tired throughout, for sure. Pepsi says, greetings from Brazil, friend. Greetings from Brazil, friend. Did you feel safe here? Yes and no. I was warned about pickpockets and stuff, so I was kind of always actively aware of my surroundings. And I did end up personally at some sketchy places. At one point, I got invited to this street thing that happens in the city late at night called Pedra do Sal. And basically, they do samba dancing in the street. I'm sure you know probably already, but I'll explain to everyone else. They do samba dancing in the street until like 11 p.m. I didn't know that it ended at 11 p.m. It makes sense, but I went like after that. So I expected to see samba dancing, but what I showed up to was like this huge night marketplace. It was like half club, half outdoor club, half like night market where they had like food and stuff for sale. Everyone had their little stalls with their wares, but then it was also so crowded and so busy that you were like single file, like, you know, making your way through the crowd just to even move around there. It was tough. And it was all like the most roughest looking in terms of like style and outfit and appearance of all the Brazilians that I had seen. You know, it's like that was the place where all the tattoos and the piercings and the craziness like came out, I guess. But there were so many women there, and I just kept having this feeling like, man, where I'm from, like, I feel like women would be scared to be here. Like, if my girlfriend was walking around there, I would not want my girlfriend to be walking around there, first off. But in Brazil, they seem to be like, I'm not even sure I fully know how to describe it, but like as a culture, they're like a little bit more trusting in that, like, they seem to not be as scared about some of the negative possibilities that could happen. Maybe because they're a bit nicer of a people. But in my mind, I'm thinking like there's horrible people everywhere, so like you should kind of at least be on alert, you know? But no, they seem to be enjoying it, and I'm walking around like, man, this is kind of sketchy and weird, and there were just a lot of people there that were totally cool with it and fine with it, and that's great. But like I was like, it was a culture clash for me. Like I just couldn't believe that that people felt safe there in that scenario. But yeah, nobody pickpocketed me. I was pretty good. I do get the sense though that like because of my stature, because I'm kind of a taller, bigger guy, they'd probably be a little bit more scared to mess with me. And I think maybe that's why in some cases. But for most of the trip, this was a group trip. We had like 30 people with us. I think it's also a little bit harder to pickpocket or attack a group of 30, right? So, you know, I had the luck of the herd, I suppose, for the most part. Let's catch up. What's up, Aquafina? How was your trip, Stevie? Was it refreshing? It was. What I also didn't realize about this trip going in, because, well, let me start at the beginning. This trip was through a company called Kentucky, so they do trips for young adults from like 20s to like 35, I think is the cutoff. where if you're outside of that age range, you can't go. I didn't know the cutoff was 35, or I didn't know much about it at all beforehand. All I know is I have a friend, an old college roommate of mine, that did one of these trips a couple years ago, and it just completely changed his life. And now I swear that the guy only works so that he could save up and go on another trip of these. So he's been doing them for a while, and he keeps trying to get me to go. And I'm always like, nah, no, not interested. But this time in particular, because he was going to Brazil as one of the places, or this specific trip was, I was finally like, you know what? Like, that's a part of my heritage. Maybe I should see Brazil. When else am I going to go see it? So I finally caved and said, all right, we'll do it. But because the trip was like pre-planned and everything, I didn't do like a lot of necessary research, like looking into like what I was getting into. I kind of just flew by the seat of my pants and went along with it. And I checked the temperature, and Argentina in particular, because it's like down left more on the coast. It's a couple hours like down left via plane. It's cooler. And right now, Southern Hemisphere, they're having winter. I completely didn't think about that at all. So I'm looking at the weather and before the trip, and I'm thinking 60 degrees, like I can wear shorts with that. That's fine. Like that's a little cooler than I thought it was going to be, because I thought it was going to be like tropical and hot and stuff. But like I could do 60 degrees. That's fine. Then of course I go down there and like it was cold. I had to buy pants. So I really didn't do the appropriate amount of planning for this trip, but it was kind of funny. So it's fine. Live Fat Pikachu reaction redeem. So I'd have to Photoshop the Pikachu reaction face to be fat. We'll consider. Oh, right, Lucky, since you were in Brazil, did you see the Going Merry? I don't know what that means, the Going Merry. I saw Christ the Redeemer. I wish I had some pictures set aside for you. You know what? We're gonna do this the ghetto way. Let me find a picture really quick. So we saw like a lot of the main touristy sites in Rio, which was fun. We also got to do a favela tour, and I guess I didn't really even know the full history of the favelas in Rio. All I knew is that it was a Call of Duty map that my brother was saying like he was excited I was gonna see it, but like I didn't know like what a favela actually was. Hold on, let's see, where is it? There's Christ the Redeemer. What's cool about this statue in particular is it's placed in such a great spot in Rio that I took a lot of different pictures from different places, and it shows up in the background of the photos, like a crazy amount. All right, here, I'll show you. So like this one, this is me laughing with a friend that I made on the trip. This is just up on a peak somewhere, but in the background, if you look above my head, that tiny black cliff top has Christ the Redeemer on top of it. And it's like that. Like there's just a bunch of photos that I took in here that you wouldn't even see it at first, but it's there. Excuse me. Finally, Stevie sees the world from our heights as well. Oh, when I was on the floor, yeah. Just wear a Speedo, Lucky, fit right in. I didn't see people wearing Speedos actually, but it is funny though. Who said this was a kitchen? Says Dodo, yeah. Yeah, I love collabing with Choops has always been fun. Like that video is a fun one to do. And some of those lines are still kicking around even today. Keto. First time chat, what's up, Keto? Did you meet any 6'5" Brazilian supermodels while you were there? Not 6'5", but you know, there's beautiful women everywhere. However, I definitely understand why people talk about Brazilian women after going to Brazil. I do. I definitely do. Wish I had some extra time there. Oh, Choops was not in a good mood after the direct? Interesting. I missed that. Gamer Swordsman's looking to join the Discord server. Of course. The link is in the description. Feel free. I got 4 minutes and 35 seconds left of Dimitri mode until I can actually read better again. I have to scroll so far up in chat to remember what I said when Stevie reads it. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to catch up, but you guys are talking a lot. Show us your Samba moves. We actually did learn Samba very briefly. It was like a 10 or 15 minute little lesson. And it is rough to remember dance moves. We learned Tango too at one point. I think I was better at Tango than Samba. Samba was like, you step backwards, then the left one steps, and then you step forwards, and then you step to the back right, you step to the left, then you step to the, then you cross the, whatever. Anyway, it's complicated. Very complicated. I have like 2 left feet. I think once I actually learn a dance routine, like I would be good at it and fine with it, but the learning, when they go through the steps, because the people that are often teaching these things know it like breathing, they go way too fast. Like I need like a solid 30 minutes of the basic crap until it's like really deeply written into my brain to really know it. Will you go to Japan? Asked J Miggy. Japan is absolutely on my list. I do kind of feel like maybe for my next trip, though, I would love for it to be another Spanish-speaking country, because there is something really fun about actively having to use the language while you're there. I feel like I got a lot better at speaking Spanish again, which it was a really fun experience for me. And if I went to Japan, there's only certain words that I know, and I could learn a little bit before going. But I feel like since I'm strongest with like Spanish, I would like to keep using that. The thing about Japan though too is I would love for it to be like a serious friend trip where I get like a whole friend group together and go have an amazing time. I don't even know where I would visit in Japan, but there's so many great spots. So yeah, definitely someday. That's on my bucket list for sure. That's absolutely on my bucket list. How tall are you? I think if a doctor did my height, you know, in the clinical setting, they're a lot harsher about your height. I think I would be 6'2", but I think in reality, because of hair and sneakers and all that sort of thing, I'm 6'3". So I usually go with that. Oh, what's up, Tubes? What's up? How are you doing? So it's a cult? What's a cult? My alarm, sorry. Registering Lucky Crit personal knowledge parameters. Valen says, my sister is the only works so she can go on trips vibe too. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like, I thought that my friend had gone slightly crazy from doing these trips and being so obsessed with them, but I kind of understand it now, because there was a part of me that did not want to come back afterwards. It's just really fun. Yeah, like there were some lull points throughout the trip where it kind of began feeling a little bit, because it was a guided tour of these places, and we had to be on buses and stuff for decent chunks of it. There were moments where I was like, I'm on like an adult elementary school field trip and I want to get off this freaking bus and not do this anymore. But for the most part, it was really fun and I wasn't feeling that way. So imagine being cold at 60 degrees, says Nexo. I mean, it might have been worse than that because there were some rainy days in Argentina as well. But yeah, I actually really was, unfortunately. Did you hug Christ back? No, he's too big. He's too big. T-posing Jesus, yeah. Do you feel redeemed? I think I need to be redeemed after this trip, quite frankly. What's up, QW? Damn, are you religious? Every FE tuber is religious. I would not say I'm overly religious. I was raised Christian, but I don't go to church like every week anymore or anything like that. So not particularly. We just saw that because that's just a famous piece of history there for Rio. At long last. Oh, I just remember troops yelling a lot after the direct and during and before. Interesting. So Stevie, if you had to choose a place to get a lucky lady, now we know you'd choose Brazil. Argentina wasn't bad either. Argentina was not bad either. Speak Spanish, says Jay Miggy. Here. Okay, listen. When you're speaking a foreign language and you want to go up to somebody to ask them out, you don't have a lot of options, right? You can't exactly go up and make some funny comment about minutia, right? Like, I can't be like, you know, the seagulls on your shirt look hungry. Like, you can't. It's much more difficult to connect with a person beyond like just a pickup line. So
sit upon the throne.
once I
have
sit,
no
I'll tell you.
doubt you will be gifted
I'll
a
tell you my
revelation
Spanish one
from
that
the
I was doing.
goddess.
Yeah, so outside of like asking for a name, I feel like Tu eres muy linda is an easy one to do. And actually in Portuguese, it was Você é muito bonita. That's what it was. So I said that a good handful of times. I did. I won't lie. Lucky Crit Discord server Japan trip, let's go. That would be really sick until I could just foresee some bad stuff happening, like if someone got lost or something. I don't know. I would be nervous about that, but that's also kind of cool. And also, in case one of you is a serial killer, that would also not be good, but that remains to be seen, I guess. Miss Modern Mayhem says, I remember I was in Japan while you were streaming. I'm down to go again. Really? That's cool. We're planning a Japan trip in Discord if you want to join. Really? Really? Will says, I liked going to Japan as a Spanish speaker because it feels more foreign if I don't know the local language. That's true, but isn't that also like kind of sad and frustrating when you can't speak to people? Or like you walk up to them and you know like your two phrases, but then they're saying something completely different and you're lost. And you're just sitting there and it's that awkward moment where they're trying to explain something, but you don't get it at all. And you're like hoping that someone comes in and saves you or somehow you figure out what they mean. Like that sucks. I don't like those moments like that. Did you wear button-up shirts during your trip too? Not entirely, not entirely. I saved the good shirts for like fancy dinners and club nights, you know? But, you know. Only Franzik is a serial killer, probably. That might be true. Probably better off that I stay a being of pure text. Perhaps. Does that mean that you're a serial killer, Hydri? Is that what that means? Nexo, I think going off the other comment that I saw but I didn't read. Japan is on the bottom of my list of countries to go to. Japanese people are racist with actual good reasoning, and there's a lot of customs I would not get. They're very traditional, so I guess I could see how that might be the case for some people. But yeah, they do have some funky customs that are really interesting. Like, unlike America, where when you eat, you should be quiet, and anything other than that is considered gross. In Japan, I feel like if you go to like a place with ramen or anything like that, any kind of soups, you're supposed to slurp like as loud as possible because that means that you like it. That's one of the ones I think I remember, if I'm not mistaken. That's just really funny to me. I don't know. It's weird. Cultural differences are so weird. But yeah, it happens. But yeah, what should I talk about? Let's see. So the trip was to Argentina and Brazil. It was like a 12-day trip. So what was also cool about this is not only are you traveling with other people that hopefully, if you have a decent group, will become pretty fast friends that you'll like interacting with. So it's good at really testing your social skills too and developing them further. but also the trip, because this particular one was about the highlights of these countries. I didn't have to do any research in terms of the best spots to go see, the best places to be. And there was something really freeing and refreshing about that too. Because to me, part of traveling and stuff like that is stressful when it's like you have to figure out the most optimal way to do things, and like, okay, let's go see this on this day, or if I'm going to catch this Uber now, I better make sure that I'm prepared to go, you know, from this place to this place because they're close by, and all the logistical crap I didn't have to worry about. And I really appreciated that because I got to see the best stuff. I didn't have to think about it. I was along for the ride, and it was just fun. So that was cool. But yeah, Argentina, what was really weird about Argentina is it kind of reminded me of like New York City or Boston a little bit. Buenos Aires in particular, the city. I guess every city kind of has that city vibe, right? But I kind of got the sense with the way that some of those streets looked. And I know that they brought in like a bunch of like French and Spanish, I think, architects from other places that kind of did a lot of it. So I don't know if maybe there's parts of New York that were similar, but there were certain streets where I was like, if I was like drunk at 2 a.m. walking around, I would feel like I was probably in New York City or somewhere. Outside of all the signs being in Spanish, it was very similar looking to me to New York City, which is interesting. I didn't expect that. There were the occasional palm trees, but they also said that the palm trees weren't native to Argentina either, which makes sense because it actually gets kind of cold in the winter. You know, not that cold, but cold-ish. So I could see that. But also, they seem to have a weird, maybe it's weird, maybe it's fine for them, whatever, but they have a weird lack of copyright. What's the word? A weird lack of obeying copyright, I guess is what I'll say. There were so many shops that for their banners, they would like rip off major logos and brands and stuff. So like we passed a store for like kids and toddlers, right? And they had like the Huggies logo as like the store logo and like a Huggies banner. But then in the bottom right of it, it had like the actual store's like little name there. But all they wanted you to know was this is a place where you can get Huggies. Like this is the kids store. So there's like stuff like that everywhere, which is kind of funny to me. We went on a boat at one point that was called the Bambi, and they straight up like stole like the Disney Bambi animated like drawing of Bambi and like slapped that on there, which it was just really funny. But the other weird thing too is so much of like the signage of businesses and stuff were faded. And even the city itself, the entire place kind of looks a little bit like it was great like 20, 30 years ago, but has since kind of fallen a little bit into disrepair, which I think economically is actually the case because they're going through some hard times right now. They have like 140% inflation. But it's just so interesting to me that you can like literally see that on everything. All of the people's stands have like sun faded DVDs and stuff on them and things like that. You know, in New York or in the state that I live, Connecticut, like you would never walk around and see a business that has like a logo or a sign out front that was like faded to hell. They would replace that so quick and it would be like a brand new one. But there, they just deal with it and it's like 20 years old and sun faded looking and looks horrible, but that's just how it be down there. Very, very intriguing to me. Yeah, they're not very protective of IP, Gabe. They're not. Oh, Brazil. Oh, they do crazy off-brand stuff. They do. They do. They absolutely do. So there were definitely some rough parts of the area, but I did really like Buenos Aires. The food, I think the food in Argentina was way better than Brazil, unfortunately. I was looking forward to Brazil the most on this trip. Argentina I really did not care about, but I was very pleasantly surprised by Argentina, even with all the things that I'm saying about it now. And obviously they are going through some tough times right now, like other places are too, but in particular they're not so great off. But it was a really beautiful place. I really did actually like it. And the culture there was really cool. The food was amazing. It was really good. we had a day where we did an optional activity, which was polo. So I've never actually watched people play polo, but polo is the sport where you ride around on a horse with basically a stick in one hand, and you use it to hit a little ball into a goal. In the actual real sport, I think the rounds are 6 minutes long each. And in between each round, all of the players switch horses. So it's a very expensive sport because they need like 6 horses per player. It's a very fancy, rich, uppity kind of a sport. But we, as one of the optional activities, we got to go to an actual polo ranch. And I think that was easily one of the highlights of the trip from all the people that went to that park because it was so cool. So we show up at this ranch in the middle of nowhere, and they had wine set out for us, which was really, really cool. They had empanadas, which are like basically like beef and cheese in like a little pocket, like a hot pocket. That's there's got to be a better way to describe it. Sorry. But basically it's a very classic Argentinian and Brazilian Spanish delicacy meal option. And those are probably the best empanadas that I had on the entire trip there. So already automatically I was like happy that I paid for this optional thing to go to. I was already good on it. We sat there chatting. They had some dogs that were there that lived on the ranch. So people are petting dogs. We're having some wine. We're eating some empanadas that were good. Behind us, they had an outdoor stove and they were cooking like an absolute buttload of meat. Let me see if I have a picture of that. I think I do. It was quite the sight. Let's see. I think it was after this. Yeah, there we go.
Pick a god and pray.
They were cooking up a lot of beautiful meat. And then we got to go see them actually play a game of polo. So we got to watch actual professionals. Maybe not professionals, but people that were actually good at the game going around playing. And what's hilarious is some of the guys in the group decided to put some little bets down on the game. So basically we turned it into sports betting, which is hilarious. So we were betting on either orange team or the pink team. So it was just this like beautiful guys trip little moment that we had. For whatever reason, none of the girls in the group ended up going to this. They either didn't sign up or the ones that did sign up didn't go. They didn't want to because they had other things they wanted to do in Argentina, I guess. But that basically just made it so that it was like a guys trip kind of a day. And the vibe was immaculate. It was amazing. Here's one of the dogs that was around. Come on, rotate. The little ranch dogs. After we got to watch them play a game, we got to eat that delicious food that they were cooking, which was easily the best meat that I ate on the entire trip. They knew what they were doing on that little ranch. It was so good. So good to the point where like people are walking around offering more and you're like stuffed and you're hurting, but you still like can't say no to the food because you know how good it is. You're like, oh, please. Like you just wish you had a second stomach to fill. Which is gross, but true. Then we got to play polo, which was new for me, as it was for most of the people there. I don't know that I've ever ridden a horse before, and that's obviously what has to happen. So, you know, I get up on my horse, and I kind of felt like I was crushing it, because I'm a bigger guy, and the horse was a decent size, but I just felt like when I went on it, how much I encumbered it. And I felt bad about that. And there were certain commands that you were supposed to be able to do with the horse to tell it to run faster or do certain things. And I think I didn't quite know them properly enough, or like the specific sound out of your mouth. I wasn't quite doing the exact way that they were taught. So it kind of wasn't listening to me a lot in the beginning. And I was like, man, this freaking horse hates me. Like this just isn't going very well. But riding a horse and trying to hit a ball with a stick is not a very easy thing. But I did have a great time with it. There were some occasional terrifying moments where out of nowhere, my horse would just book it and start running as fast as possible across the field. And I'm like hanging on for dear life, like thinking I'm going to fly off at any second because like your weight is really heavily shifting. And I wasn't that secured on top of it. And I didn't know why it was doing that. And I found out afterwards that somebody, one of the main instructor people or people who are good at it, was going behind me and whipping my horse on the butt to make it do that. Maybe because they saw that it wasn't moving for me and they were trying to like help. But instead of that, they just scared me shitless, honestly. But it was pretty funny. My team ended up winning polo. I scored the final shot, which was really fun. I actually think if polo was a more local, more accessible kind of a sport, I would honestly not be that disinterested in it. I might actually, it might be something that I would go do every once in a while and be pretty good at it. So it was intriguing. I didn't think I was gonna walk away feeling that way, but yeah, polo was one of the highlights for sure. So you became a cav unit. Yeah, basically. Stevie, too much of a unit at 6'3" and 215 pounds. 215 is generous. I need to lose some weight. I'm definitely heavier than 215. Jockeys are small for a reason. I could see that. Yeah. I could see that. What's up, Sugoi boy? So Paladin isn't for you then? I think it could be. I think it could be. I am bigger, but I did enjoy it. I did. What else did we do in Argentina? Debating on which stories I should tell here, and which stay in South America. But I'll let you guys decide. What should I say in the meantime, though? We got to visit these little islands in Buenos Aires, which was beautiful. We had a beautiful lunch there with the group. I made what I feel is probably a new best friend on this trip. I knew the guy beforehand because I had met him through another mutual friend who's one of my better friends that I love. But I just didn't know how much we would bond in this trip together. So that was really kind of a beautiful thing. Because it's rare to get to meet like people that you think could be best friends. So I think I was kind of blessed in that way too. What are you clipping that's a sus streamer moment? What have you done? I'll have to look at that later. Great Night Stevie goes with Great Night Lapis. I'm just saying. I do like Great Night. I do like it. Miss Bunner Ma'am wants to hear the juicy stuff. Do I tell this story? Do you really? Naruto says, my family owns horses and I still would never ride one without it being guided. Yeah, we had some help, but yeah, it was a little bit more freeform than that. We're getting a lot of yeses to tell the... Okay, all right, fine, okay.
It's bold.
We went clubbing.
In terms of jerking people around, but I may have gone too far in a few places.
All right, I'm done jerking you around. Fine. So we went clubbing at one point, and to me, my philosophy for this trip was kind of whatever crazy idea entered my mind, and I didn't, it's not 100% of the time or anything, but my general philosophy was if I think of some like wild idea, do it for the story or, to have a better time, and maybe do things that I wouldn't ordinarily do back at home. So we're at a club in Argentina. It was a pretty nice nightclub. There was a lot going on, a lot of dancing on the main dance floor area. They played some good music too, even stuff that I recognized, even though we were in Argentina. Some classic hits and stuff that they would play here in America. The dance floor, the lights were so blinding. At certain moments, I was looking for the rest of my group that I came with, and I could not honestly find them because every like 5 seconds, I would just get hit in the face with the light. Some of the most blinding lights I've ever seen. And I'm not talking about the Weekend hit, although I like that song. But so I decided to take the opportunity to chat up some Argentinian women at the club. Like with everything in terms of dating, it's a numbers game. So there's going to be a lot of no's before you get to the yeses. A lot of conversations that, you know, I'd start talking to somebody and say, you know, you're beautiful. What's your name? You know, were you born here? What do you do? You know, anything I could think of to say in like Spanish that I was capable of saying. But first off, I was kind of handicapped by whether or not they spoke English or not, because obviously that makes it much easier. But I'm also kind of speaking like a 10-year-old, probably worse, probably a 5-year-old, 5-year-old Spanish child to these people, which is really funny when you think about it from that perspective. But so I decided to start chatting some people up. And eventually I found a girl that was really excited to talk to me. She was very pretty. And she spoke English. So that was like the trio there. So I had a great time talking to her. Ended up dancing with her. And of course, my entire group saw all of that. I couldn't see where they were on the dance floor, but they saw all of that, of course. Then at some point, the girl I was dancing with goes to say goodbye to another friend. And my group comes over to me and starts dancing near me. And there were some women from my group that were there and doing that. And now this girl who I was just dancing with, her friends see what's happening and see that there are other women now dancing near me. And I was thinking to myself, like, I hope that's not going to be a problem in 5 minutes or whatever when the girl comes back. And sure enough, one of the friends at some point comes over to me and says, I saw you dancing with another girl. And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh no, come on. No, I wasn't even. They came to me. They came over to me and started dancing. It wasn't my fault. And but then she said something like, you know, I told the girl you were dancing with, but she said it was okay. But me, I'm crazy, or something like that is what she said. Like, basically, like, it wouldn't fly with her, but with her friend, it was okay. So I was like, I breathed a sigh of relief. So that was a really good night, ultimately, is where that story goes. And I only had one more night after that in Argentina. And that day, I think, was the polo day. So it was a very busy day. But I was thinking to myself, like, it would be really fun because I got the girl's information and her Instagram and stuff. It was like, I'm leaving Argentina. Maybe on this last night, like, I could have a date with her or something like that. Like, that would be really cool. Bare minimum for the story, because nothing on this trip was without an interesting story to it. So I message her and we start talking. And how much do I want to say about this? She told me that she'd be working late, and I said that's fine. Like, I'll probably be up late tonight anyway, before anything. So I end up seeing her. We end up going out. It's late. You live to see another day. Yeah, exactly. What's up, Sir Koopa? Will quoting me, saying, "You're beautiful. What's your reason and speed growth rate?" It's still magic. It's still magic, Will. But very funny. Very funny. Can you show us your dance moves? Hell no. Hell no. What's up, Jackson Jin? Give us the tea. Oh, okay. Thing is that a gentleman doesn't kiss and tell, but I'm not gonna share or divulge too many details. I'll share the really funny parts about it then. So I take the girl out on a date in Argentina, and it was a good date. I had a good time. We end up walking around, and it's like 4 a.m, and at that point, you know, I'm not one to push anything, but it was clear that the girl wanted something more to happen. And I liked her too, so I was open to that. But I was thinking to myself, like, I can't in good conscience take her back to the hotel that I'm staying in, where I have a roommate, by the way, and kick him out at 4 a.m. That's just not he would have nowhere to go. It's not a very nice thing to do. So I explained to her the situation, and she invited me back to her place. All the while, like, on the city streets, we're getting like assailed by like sketchy people looking for money at 4 a.m. And then it's starting to rain. And also at the same time, my phone is dying. So I'm in this foreign city. My phone has like 15% left, and I'm trying to call an Uber for us. And I'm concerned that, like, I don't know how I'm going to get home later, because if my phone is dead, I don't know what's going to, how I'm going to get back. In the morning, I have to be awake at, I have to be in the lobby of the hotel, mind you, at 7:25, 7:30. It's like 4 in the morning now. And here I am planning to go somewhere else, and I may not even have cell service. So everything that I'm doing is insane at this point, and wouldn't have probably usually happened, but you know, what happens on a trip, I guess, is different. So I'm making some questionable decisions. We end up going back to the girl's place, and you know, her little apartment was cute. It was nice. But I walk into, you know, she's showing me around, and she shows me her bedroom, and she had a lot of lights and cameras, kind of like this. She had told me that she worked in some way related to like marketing or something like that, or like I thought like maybe this girl, like my initial thought was maybe okay, she just does something similar to me where she takes photos of stuff and maybe she like edits them or something. Like I don't know. I was open-minded enough to think about it, but the more that I looked at her setup, and the thing is, let's say this was the bed on this side of the room, the lights and the cameras were on the exact opposite side. Like her desk was over there with the lights and everything facing that way. And the more that I thought about that, the more that I realized, I was like, do you shoot porno movies in here? Like I just had to ask her. I was like, I couldn't, something was weird about that setup. Reen got it in chat. So I asked her, and she kind of joked. Like her first response was kind of joking, and then I like kept thinking about it, and I was like no, I want like a serious answer to this question, because I don't know, I've never encountered such a thing before. And yeah, it turns out she was a cam girl. Her friend got her into it because they said it was good money or something, so that's what she does. I don't know if it was on the side or if that was actually her main source of income, but yeah. She was a very lovely girl. Let me be very clear about that, but I was not expecting that wrinkle. On the date, she was like the sweetest girl you could ever imagine. Completely. I literally had no inkling whatsoever that was about to be the case, but now there I was in a cam girl's apartment. I don't know if I was filmed or not. I don't think I was filmed, but you know, now you never know. Is basically the story. Yeah. So ultimately, I lucked out because she just so happened to be the one. It's not true, but the one female in existence with an Android phone and a Type-C charger before the new iPhones switched to it. Because obviously they have their own cable right now at this point in time. So she just so happened to have a Type-C cable, so I was able to charge my phone and not screw myself, and I was able to get back. However, it was tight, let me tell you. I got back to the hotel in an Uber. Meanwhile, the whole way back in the Uber, I'm falling asleep in the car, like, oh, this is not good. Stay awake. Like that, basically. And because we were leaving the next day, I had to be like ready with my bags packed to go to the airport. My bags were not packed in my room because I assumed I was going back to my room at some point that evening, which had not happened at all. So at this point, I show up. Oh, then I'm finally checking my phone in the Uber, by the way. And I'm realizing that my poor roommate woke up at 5:30 in the morning and said, has anybody seen Stevie? I woke up this morning and he's not in his bed. Does anybody know where he is? Is he okay? Basically, like something like that, basically. So out of genuine concern for my well-being, which is amazing. It was a great thing for him to do, and I love him and appreciate him for that. However, that message was also blasted out to about 30 people, which meant that now every single person in our little group knew that I had stayed out all night And to make it more interesting, someone else responded after that because they knew like where I had been previously. They had said he had a date last night or something like that. So now 30 people know that I had a date and I was out all night that night. Lovely. So I get back to the hotel and it's like 7:05 at this point. I got 20 minutes to play with here, to pack my bags and be ready to hit the bus and go to the airport. And so I show up at the hotel, and because we're on a strict timeline here, there's people eating breakfast for the cam girl and her American conquest. Okay. Yeah. Did she unbutton your shirt and tell you stop wearing these on stream? That's hilarious. That would be really funny. That'd be really messed up if that happened, actually. Yeah, so the way that this hotel was laid out, it just so happened to be that the main lobby downstairs, where they served breakfast, was in full view of the front of the hotel. So naturally, I get dropped off out of my Uber right there. I see like 5 people in my groups looking at me. Meanwhile, the group chat has been people talking about the fact that I'm missing. So now 5 people are looking at me. So I did like since I know they're looking at me, I did like a funny like sneaking around kind of motion. And I walk to the door and I go inside. And at this point, like I said, I've got 20 minutes to run upstairs and pack and do what I got to do because, you know, I kind of messed up and I'm out of time here. So I'm walking through the lobby and what I get is everyone in my group clapping. Just walk of shame, walk of fame, clapping, whatever you want to call it. That's what I got. And I thought that was a really genuinely hilarious moment. That just the way that all of those pieces had to fall to have things turn out the way that they turned out was really, really funny. It worked out in the most hilarious, perfect way to make the best story, really. And that's what I was trying to do with this trip. So yeah, that was Argentina. What's up, Sammy? I do see your comment. Bob Hugo, what's up? Walk of Fame for sure, says Roy. I would hope so. I would hope so. Tristan says, well, we now know who Stevie subscribed to most recently. I did not. She, I didn't push for it. She didn't seem intent on telling me what the cam girl thing, or like, I'm sure I would have had a million questions if I actually sat there and thought about it longer, but I wasn't going to push it because she seemed to not want to get into that world. But I did wonder like what she does and how freaky of a human being she was. You know. Congrats, man. You lived a stoner comedy movie. Yeah, I guess it does sound like that, doesn't it? Hello, iPhone Files Boy. Phelan says, I need you to go on more trips so I can live through you vicariously.
Hiya, papaya.
Deep Freeze, what's up? So you're saying you could use the body pillows as stream doubles in her next stream with you? Stop it. No. Stevie conveniently skipped over the best part of the story. Yeah, I'm gonna protect the innocent and not go into that part, but I think you could come up with your own story to fill in the blanks there for that part. Oh, a raid from Last Legend? Is that true? I didn't see a raid thingy. Welcome, folks. Deep Free says, "Oh, I didn't realize you were back. Did I miss any good stories?" I think you literally just missed a good story. You should go back like 10 minutes probably in the stream. What else happened? Next, we traveled to Iguazu Falls, which was basically, I think it's one of the like 7 wonders of the world. I don't know what batch of them it is, because I think there's like new and old batches of the Wonders of the World. But basically, it's a series of really huge waterfalls. I'll find a picture. Really, really pretty. But while we were there, it was raining, so it was kind of less enjoyable. Wait, let's find. I took a really good one. Let's find it. Oh, there it is. So this is just like one, but there's a bunch. There's an absolute crap load of waterfalls like that in a little region. So, pretty place. Wasn't the best because we were all getting absolutely rained on and thrashed the entire time. So we were cold and miserable, and our shoes were wet as we're walking around. But then we got to explore the first part of Brazil, basically, since that was right on the border, which was nice. I'm going to continue to protect the innocent and not continue to tell a story. Let's just say, what do I even want to say about it? I've never been to a strip club before. Not really my speed, not really my thing. But like I was saying on this trip, I kind of decided that if crazy ideas crossed my mind, I was at least going to be open to them to make potentially the best story possible, to live the most life that I could live. And at one point in Iguazu, I went with someone else from the trip to a place that I thought was a strip club. And it was not a strip club. I was very mistaken, and I missed like many, many signs that should have tipped me off that it was not a strip club. But I've never been to a strip club, so I really didn't exactly know what to look for. But yeah, that was very sketchy and unfortunate. Thank you, Sammy, for saying that you subbed. I don't know why things are not working then, but if you subbed, thank you. I appreciate you. It was a gay bar. A gay bar would be easier to explain. No, it was not a gay bar. Did anyone from the trip follow your channel? I don't like telling people. If people really want to know, I'll tell them, but like I'm not the kind of person that goes around and advertises it. I don't know, I just feel like that's weird. I hate when people do that. When they like are a little too desperate to have you follow all of their stuff. So I don't typically say. People can find that out. If they bother to learn enough about me, they would eventually know. So brothel, do they still have those? They still had them there. They still had them there. And I learned a little too late after walking in. You went by yourself to find a strip club. No, so someone was with me, but we had walked by this place to go to dinner before that. Which is why the idea was like raised in my mind of like, oh, maybe we could go there afterwards. That'd be kind of funny. Oh, that was meant for me. From Veronica. Listen, I didn't do it on purpose. I said it wasn't my speed. Strip clubs weren't even my speed. I just thought it'd be funny. Choop says, I don't say it either. It's usually my friends who bring it up when I meet new people. It's annoying. Yeah, it could be kind of embarrassing and weird at times, because then you know what's going to happen is people are going to like bring up the channel and start watching videos, and it's like really uncomfortable if someone like brings up a video in front of you and you're like sitting there like watching yourself with them like, huh, yeah, that's me, huh? It's like weird. It's not the most fun experience. Because then they're like, oh, so you're big here, you need to follow me. That's true too. Damn, Brazil Wilden. It is, yeah, it is Wilden. Yeah. So that middle portion of the trip was very brief. I think we were only in Iguazu for like 2 days. Most of it was pretty miserable because of the rain. But it was nice. At one point, like when we went out to dinner that night, we ended up at this really cool bar/restaurant that had live music, and it was a very beautiful female singer with other folks playing instruments with her. And I swear they must have been like singing covers of like Brazil's top pop hits, because every single person throughout that entire place knew the lyrics. 90% of them were singing along. They also had the game up on the wall near where I was sitting, where they were playing football, aka soccer, as we would call it here, because Brazil was on and they were playing, and obviously Brazil is huge about their football. So yeah, he bonked me for not reading the signs. Well, for the signs, if you mean like context clues, sure. But in terms of signs outside the place, yeah, there were no signs that said, hey, this is not a strip. Like, the sign was vague as hell, as it needs to be, in order to skirt around the laws. Because I think it's even illegal there, truthfully. So, you know. Shaking my head, should have learned Brazil's top hits before going. Yeah, clearly I should have. Yeah. But I didn't. So anyway, that part of the trip was very cool, but was over pretty fast. And then we went to Rio de Janeiro, or River of January, I think is the exact English translation of the name of Rio. And Rio, I didn't realize was so surrounded by these weird little mountains. Let me see if I can have a good picture to show you. But like, because I didn't really look up pictures beforehand for like any of this stuff, because of the way that I kind of was dragged onto this trip, I didn't really have any context for like what to expect. But I was pleasantly surprised, and it was really cool. Let me see if I have a good like mountain picture of Rio. This is like just one. No, that's not a good one. Hold on. Oh man, I gotta tell you the hang gliding story. This does a decent example of illustrating it. So what's interesting about Rio is it's surrounded by these weird, almost like thumb-shaped little mountain ridges. And one of them in particular is called Sugarloaf Mountain. That's shaped like a thumb. And they have cable cars that travel up to the top of it, and they have like gift shops and restaurants and businesses up there, which is really cool. Let me find a little cable car video for you. So that was one of the sites that we got to see, and it was really cool. So that's how you would travel up to the mountain. Which surprisingly, I don't do too well with heights, but in the cable car, it wasn't so bad. Interestingly enough. Like I was saying earlier, we got to see Christ the Redeemer as well in person. What's even more hilarious is that I had this image in my head of what this looked like and what this was. Don't judge me. It was from one of the Fast and Furious movies, because they show it. I don't know why they were in Rio or whatever, but in one of the Fast and Furious movies, they show Christ the Redeemer above Rio, and it's like incorporated in the story. And I always thought, like, man, that's beautiful. Look at the sights. Look at how that looks. So that's kind of what I knew about Rio. the extent of what I knew about Rio. We also got to do a favela tour. Let me talk about that really briefly. Let me find the pictures of it. So, like I was saying, let me not show too many people's faces or anything. The favelas are basically, I'm going to botch this because I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was either the original Portuguese or the British that were there a long, long time ago in like the 1800s or something like that. Their slaves that they had, they eventually set free, but they didn't have money or a lot of rights or anything, so they were free, but, you know, obviously things weren't still super peachy for them. So a lot of those people decided to build their own little areas using anything that they could get their hands on to build their housing, which basically resulted in a lot of those buildings on the hills in Rio, basically, they're built super high up. Essentially this. Kind of built all sandwiched on top of each other in these little communities that are called favelas. They have basically government guards and police watching them patrolling. I guess supposedly the government lies about how many people still live in them because they don't want to have to give them aid or schooling or anything like that. So they lie about what the actual numbers are of people that are there. But it was the most interesting, like, contrast of wealth I have ever seen. It was very jarring because it was very worn down. There was garbage like everywhere. Here's a good example. So like you're walking around like neighborhoods that basically look like that. Trash, garbage, houses are really loosely, roughly constructed. Kind of sketchy and scary at every point, twist and turn. Here's a business that was selling what I assume to be of questionable authenticity Gucci outfit in the favela. So that's what I mean. Like in terms of like the culture and the wealth, it's like they still had their touchstones, but they were obviously not that well off. So you would see people like with iPhones and stuff. Excuse me. You'd see them with iPhones and stuff, but then they also lived in places like this, essentially, with all this crap piled outside of it, houses on top of each other. You're climbing ever higher. Here's a video of some kids playing what I assume to be soccer or football. And these are rough areas. Like they told us specifically, there's only very certain places where you're allowed to take photos and stuff. And the reason for that is if some of the drug lords in these areas see you doing it and think that you are an undercover Fed, you can be killed, obviously. So it's a bit, you know, that's just Bushwick. That's fair. Yeah. You skipped out on that Gucci deal. I did. I don't think the place was open that day. But yeah, it was really, really interesting. It's very sad, quite frankly, that whole situation, because they really were just absolutely living on top of each other. You know, just kids running around playing here and there. I mean, what you're looking at back here is like this is like someone's window to their house. Oh no, that was a little, never mind. But like, imagine like the sides of that. Like you're living in that weird concrete building. It's very different, very different. What else? What else did we do? I talked about Sugarloaf Mountain. I talked about Christ the Redeemer. Unfortunately, I didn't even get to go to the beach in Rio until like the very end because we had so much going on. But at one point, we did get to go on a party boat for a little while, which was really fun. And you may notice this particular music track that is very common in this stream. Not that one. Not that one, but he played it. Never mind, I'm sorry. I thought that was the one. It's not the one. Is it this one? No. At one point, he played Careless Whisper. I don't know if I have the clip on hand, easily findable. But we had an epic sax man, basically. So that was very fun. Yeah, I'm sorry if you can't hear it. I might have my mic settings a little too tweaked. But that was an enjoyable experience. And then we had the optional activity of hang gliding. I don't like heights. I've never liked heights. I've dated women before that liked roller coasters, and I've always felt like a cuck walking through like Six Flags and stuff because I do not like roller coasters. I do not want to go to theme parks to ride roller coasters. I might try it if I'm feeling really good and I really care to impress the person that I'm with. But there's a limit to that where it's like you just really are not comfortable and don't want to do it for the most part, for me at least. So I've never enjoyed them. I've never liked them. It's very difficult for me to shut off that part of your brain that says basically, you're going to die. What are you doing? You're going to die. So it's just not, it's not fun. I don't like it. I did go on the Superman ride at Six Flags, basically the really high one. I did that right after, at the end of college. So that was like the one major roller coaster that I've been on. And the entire way up, as you're just strapped in, clicking, going up the rails, I was just constantly repeating, I'm not thrilled. I'm not thrilled. I'm not thrilled. I'm not thrilled. And, you know, when they took the picture at the end, let me see if I can find it, actually. I definitely have it somewhere. We should probably switch the music, too. It's been this music for a while, sorry. How's this? We'll do that for a little bit till it gets boring. All right, so I didn't pay for the picture. Oh, here's a Snapchat that somebody took of me, and the caption makes complete sense. That's what I said to them because I didn't want to go on the ride they were about to go on. But there's me, circa 2014. And them quoting me. So I went out with my friend Michael, and for this Superman Ride of Steel, when they took the picture at the end, most people go like that because you're on a roller coaster and you're supposed to be having fun. But not me. You can see my friend there with his hands in the air, but I am leaning forward, holding on for dear life, not enjoying anything that's happening there. Basically, the entire ride I spent like this with my head near the bar.
This is so bad. I hate everything about this.
I did. I hate everything about roller coasters. So I did it. I went on it, but I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. But the reason for me telling you that story is when it comes to heights, I'm not a big fan. I'm really not. So doing crazy stuff like zip lining or hang gliding or anything like that is not usually in my repertoire. I've done zip lining before, and I will admit that once you're actually going down the zip line, it is a very fun experience and very enjoyable. But usually getting to that point sucks. Although the last time I did zip lining, they taught me this trick where you basically sit on the edge, and just by doing that, eventually it kind of just takes you. Just by sitting and by casually like being yourself and being alive, eventually you kind of just go. And that was very helpful at that particular place for me to just do it, because it's very difficult for me to bring myself to jump off a freaking cliff. I just can't. I really can't do that. So we had the optional possibility on this trip of doing hang gliding above Rio, which was a completely beautiful sight. Let me show you the view from basically where you would take off from it. This is a parachute in front of me, which has nothing to do with hang gliding, but we'll get to that part of the story in a minute. But basically, that's how high up you are. Like those trees to the left, that's not right below you. Like that's still like a ridiculous way away from you down below. It is, we were high up. So, because of FOMO, and because I told myself that I was going to try to expand my horizons a little bit on this trip and have the best stories possible, I got convinced to sign up for hang gliding. And I knew I wasn't going to like it. I knew that it was going to be terrifying for me and not an enjoyable experience, and I probably shouldn't do it. But I signed up for it. So what had happened to someone else in the group, because they went on a different day to do it than I did, was it was another bigger guy, kind of like me, And they tried to convince him to not do hang gliding and instead do parasailing with the parachute that you just saw in that picture. And the reason for that is when you go to this place, you have to find somebody who's willing to hang glide with you. Basically, like they're willing to do it with your amount of weight and maybe balance. Like it has to be a little bit slightly balanced between the two people if you're going to be side by side, going together, basically. So most people did not want to go with the bigger person hang gliding, but he stuck to his guns, and eventually someone said, okay, I'll do it. And he went, and they were okay. But now for me, when I showed up to this, they said the same thing to me because I'm a bigger guy. They recommended that I go parasailing instead. He showed me a video of it, and I was like, you know what? Like, that's a similar enough experience. Like, I guess that's fine. Like, I don't want to make a stink about this. Who cares? Whatever. What I failed to notice, though, when I saw that clip, was what you actually have to do in order to go. This, at the bottom of this picture, you'll see green. That's like fake turf that's on a slanted edge. Now, there's also no railing here. There's no railing. Why? Because you have to be able to go off, and the parachute can't be getting caught on anything. But what that implies is we are so many ridiculous amounts of feet up in the air on this cliff edge, and there's just a diagonal ramp going down. And in order to do this, by the way, you have to stand down there, like down the ramp. And this isn't even the real ramp. This is not the ramp you walk off of. This is the baby ramp to stand where you need to stand on the edge to walk off the cliff down a very diagonal ramp. Should I break out the Microsoft Paint for this to illustrate this better? Maybe I will. All right, Microsoft Paint. Here's what we're looking at. Where should I put? I'll put this here for now. So, this is gonna be a side view. We're on a mountain. Pick the fattest freaking brush possible. Here's some mountain where we are, right? The city's like down here, roughly.
You are my child.
You can't take MS Paint from me. You can try, but you can't do it. All right, so this is the city. You know, we saw that there's woods, like there's like forests that are a little bit higher up in the middle. But this place, let's say it's at the top, a peak. I don't even know if it was actually at the exact peak, but let's just say in this particular case that it was. Now, hang gliding, they had an upper ramp. I'll say it's this. I will say it's this one. But there was a little path down to a little bit lower to the ramp with this green turf. I think there was green up here too, but just for the edge. So down here we have this green turf, right? So up here, this is the hang gliding edge. Down here is the parasailing edge. However, this lower one, and what you need to do for parasailing, there was an even more slanted edge that you have to walk off of, like that. So for hang gliding up here, you were looking at basically with your triangular thing, you had to run with the guy next to you off this little slightly tapered ramp to go flying. But for parasailing, which is what they convinced me to do, which I shouldn't have let them convince me to do, I have to be in front. The guy is behind me, strapped to me, in order to control where we go and how we go, which sounds like an appropriate idea, right? It doesn't sound like too bad or anything. But basically what that means is me, with my fear of heights, I need to literally, and there's a very particular way that you have to do this, by the way. I have to literally, carefully, without freaking out, walk down a immensely diagonal slanted ramp, literally walk off the edge of the cliff. And someone else's life is also in the balance who's attached to me. And if you so much as lean backwards too much or do anything kind of weird, no, not good. You're screwed. Not good at all. Sketchy and horrible. So, needless to say, I was terrified. I was more terrified than I thought I was going to be because of that fact, because I have to go first and I have to walk off the edge. And meanwhile, then he's telling me, okay, you need to practice the walk in order to do it properly. Where does he get me to practice? Concrete steps next to where we were. Concrete steps with no railing, where basically, do I have a picture of that? Let me see. No, I don't even think I do, because I was just so terrified I didn't bother taking a picture. Basically, near that little green turf area with the ramp with no railing down there were some steps that I was supposed to practice this walk on. Now, if I trip on these steps, I roll down that ramp and roll off the cliff. Does that sound very fun? I don't think that sounds very fun. So in my mind, I'm like, I need to do this properly. I can't do it because not only am I not practicing on even on a ramp, I'm practicing on steps. So you have to like walk and only look forward and just step. Meanwhile, I'm going down like 2 feet to the next concrete step. It was horrible. It was awful. Everything I did was wrong and not correct. I was terrified of tripping down the steps and falling off a cliff. Horrible experience. 0 out of 10. Would not recommend. So basically, I couldn't do it. I feel that if I fought for still doing hang gliding, I think it might have been slightly easier. I still would have been terrified, but at least you're running side by side with somebody off a slightly less slanted ramp when you go. And they tell you, you just got to run. So if someone was next to me and we're just running, I think maybe there was a possibility that I could have just done that. But this, where I have to be in front and casually walk off the edge of a cliff, I couldn't do it. So I was deeply disappointed in myself, but I also just don't think I got the most compassionate guy to be helping me. He wasn't very reassuring or helpful in that way. I basically just sat there freaking out, trying and failing until I gave up. So, yeah. Who needs VR when we have MS Paint? Exactly. It's like we were there. Gambling with life, LOL. Yeah, exactly. So I think all those people up there were insane, quite frankly. I mean, these were people that basically their job is they see the batch of people that want to do some of these things. They pick who they want to go with, who they feel safe about going with in terms of like weight or size or whatnot. And they take you up and they go with you. But these people are insane. They're absolutely insane. And what's funny, should I say this? What's funny is the guy said to me, he said, actually, you know what's interesting? Oh, and by the way, these people barely spoke any English too. So to further add to how terrifying of an experience this was, I also couldn't properly communicate with the person whose life was going to be attached to mine, who I needed to walk off a cliff with and also do it in a very particular way. So really, it just wasn't very fun. But the other thing that he was telling me was a surprising amount of the people that go to do these things are women. And I did think that was pretty interesting. However, then I also thought to myself, it's because they're insane. It's because they're all insane. And all these people jumping off this cliff are insane. All the instructors, all the people, adrenaline junkies in general, they got some screws loose or something. That dude was trying to tell you wyvern riding and Pegasus riding were the same. That dude was trying to make me walk off a cliff with a paper wyvern attached to my back. That's what he was trying to tell me to do. Yeah. So I didn't do it and I was bummed. And the rest of that day was kind of crappy. Honestly, the end of Rio was a little bit more low key and not as super action packed. I did have one evening where the hotel that we were at had a rooftop bar that was really cool with a live DJ playing, which is really nice. And then 2 attractive Brazilian women came up and sat down and they were just eating and talking. And that thought entered my mind again where I thought, you know what? If I was living my best life right now, if I was the best version of me, I would go over there and I would talk to them. And so I went over and talked to them. And unfortunately, the one that I was attracted to had a boyfriend and was taken. And I wasn't going to be sleazy and then start hitting on her friend, because obviously I had made my pick before that. So I wasn't going to do that. But then she proceeded to tell me that her friend had just gotten out of a relationship like a month ago and like wanted to find some guys to kiss. So I asked, because I was with a group of the people from my group that I was on the tour. I was like, does she like any of those guys over there? So I tried to wingman a little bit, although it didn't work out so well for them. But then they invited me out to an open air club. I've never been in anything like it before. I think I have a little video clip. And they seemed kind of fun. So I said, all right, that seems kind of interesting. Let's go do that. Do it for the story, right? So I went, where is it? This is it, basically. So this is outside. It doesn't really look like it's outside, but this is all outside. Some parts had ceilings, but huge, massive, sprawling outdoor club in Brazil, near it was near Ipanema Beach, not Copacabana, where we were staying. We're out at this place, and it turned out to be a really fun night. Really fun night. I had a good time with them and that little group. So that was fun. Where was I going with that story, though? There's something else I wanted to say. Oh, pretty much everybody there in that club, male or female, was like super attractive. It was kind of annoying, honestly. But I was having so much fun with my little group that it didn't matter. It didn't like I wasn't tempted to even go talk to other people. It was just a good time. So I enjoyed it. So that was one of the better nights in Rio, I would say. That was enjoyable. Then I think I have one final Rio story. Let me switch the music, though. I think even I'm getting sick of this already. What should we put on? Does this even loop? I think it does. More cam girls, Lucky? No, not this time. What about skydiving next time? Listen, skydiving, I know that when you're in the air, same thing with hang gliding, same thing with parasailing. I know that when you're in the air, it would be fun. I know that. I understand that. I accept it, because I know for zip lining, once you're going down the line, it's fun. It is fun. Totally agree. It's just getting to that point that's really not easy for me. Skydiving, the guy would have to throw me out of the plane, because I would be like grabbing onto everything possible to not go. I'm pretty sure I'd have to wear a diaper, because I do think I would poop myself throughout that experience. That's one of those like tentative bucket list items where it's like, I kind of feel like I should someday, but also I know I'm not going to like anything about that experience. So maybe it's not on my bucket list. I don't know. You know. But yeah. So Rio was a little bit more low-key in general. I didn't go quite as crazy. I was a bit disappointed about the hang gliding incident. We finally hit the beaches, though, which were nice. Although I will say, because it was winter there for them in Rio, the actual like sun, like it was pretty sunny and pretty hot, thankfully, which was nice. But the water was still pretty cold. I actually would compare the water there at this time of year to the water up here during summer for us. It wasn't very warm, but I still went in and still enjoyed it. It was nice. What I also noticed about this trip was on the way to Argentina, I decided to change some of my online dating things to look at Argentina and kind of see like what kind of people would be there, you know, what I was working with, what's around. And I noticed this weird, interesting little quirk about Argentina in particular, where every third, maybe third is an exaggeration, but every couple of profiles, it was just half naked women on there in one way or another, like a lot more extremely than you would find in like America. So I was like, okay, they definitely know how to let loose in these countries, these South American countries down here. They go wild, they go hard. So that didn't really amount to anything because I wasn't really pursuing that in Argentina. But in Brazil, I decided like it would be fun to like have at least like a date with a Brazilian girl before going home, right? I think that would be fun. So to cap off the trip, I had asked out some people that I had seen around. When we came back down from the Sugarloaf Mountain cable car thing, there's a beautiful girl that I went up to talk to. And by the way, it was already challenging in Argentina speaking like a 5-year-old Spanish boy to an adult woman with my limited Spanish conversational abilities. Now, when you translate that to Brazil, it's even worse because all I basically know are a phrase or two and a couple of choice words that I understand. And here I am trying to like ask out people that don't speak English for the most part. So it's rough. It was not simple. It was not easy. Basically, a lot of it amounted to me bringing up Portuguese to English translator and vice versa on my phone and like showing them and talking back and forth like that, which is not as fun in terms of like fun way of communicating with people. I don't know what we're talking about here. Good night, Reen. Thanks for tuning in. I don't know why we're saying catfish. Oh, they were catfishes? It's possible, but it was such a common trend there that I was just very surprised. So here I am trying to chat up some Brazilian women with an extremely limited vocabulary. I found a very beautiful girl that was waiting probably for an Uber or something, the same way that my group was. So I went to talk to her, and I said, "Você é muito bonita," which is basically "you are very beautiful" in Portuguese. The one signature phrase that I remembered. And then I asked for her name, which I forget. I kind of also knew that one a little bit at least. And then we're going back and forth. I'm translating to try to talk to her. I tried to ask her out, but she said basically that she had been in Rio, but she didn't live in Rio, and she was leaving that night, which was kind of sad and unfortunate. Because I enjoyed talking to her, even though it wasn't a normal way of communicating. At one point throughout this conversation, mind you, I accidentally squeezed my phone, and this particular phone, it has a little bit of squeezing capabilities. I accidentally squeezed it, ended up turning off my phone. So here I am, mid-conversation with a very attractive Brazilian woman with my very extremely limited 1-year-old Portuguese child vocabulary, and I accidentally shut off my phone, and now I'm waiting for my phone to restart, like... So that was pretty funny. Ultimately, though, like I said, she had to go, so that one didn't go anywhere. But I matched with another very beautiful girl, and was pretty quick about just asking her right to dinner because I didn't have a lot of time to mess around. So on the final day in Rio, I had a dinner date with a Brazilian woman who was very beautiful. It was a very fun date. But meanwhile, because nothing can be without a story on this trip, or on these trips in general, I guess you could say, my phone was dying again for this interaction. And the reason for that is twofold. One, this phone is like 5 years old, so it's beginning to get to the point where the battery is not so good anymore. A full charge lasts me till like 1 p.m. if I actually use the phone a lot, right? Maybe that's being a little mean to it, but it doesn't last very long. It lasts for the whole day. You're not going to make an entire day with a charge. You need to basically stop at some point in the day and recharge your phone. And I had tried to do that, but I think the port had gotten a little wet from my time in Iguazu, or something was going on. I even tried replacing the cable. Something bizarre was happening where it decided that it was not going to charge properly anymore. So here I am on a date. My phone's got like 20% battery. I need to call an Uber once this date ends and go directly to the airport to catch a flight. The flight was at 11 p.m., but they recommend for international travel, everyone recommends to be there for like 3 hours in advance, just in case anything goes wrong, or there's lines. So I needed to basically leave the date at like 8 or 8:30 at the latest to have an Uber to go to the hotel. And the date is starting at like 6, mind you. So there's not a lot of time to mess around here. I had a portable charger, courtesy of one of the new awesome friends I made on the trip that was extremely generous and nice and let me borrow it. So my phone, I'm praying that my phone is slowly recharging in my pocket while I'm having this date. And if my phone dies at any point in time, even overnight at the airport, like bad things could happen where I wouldn't be able to do things or, you know, tell anybody or communicate even to people in the group like I'm stuck here or whatever. So it was very nerve-wracking in that sense. But it was a really great date. And, you know, obviously it had to end rather abruptly. But I ended up catching my Uber and making it to the airport, and I made my flights on time, so everything worked out. Will saying, Stevie, have you heard of power banks? I have, yeah. And in fact, I have one now, courtesy of that new friend, thankfully. Yeah, and that particular Brazilian girl, I also lucked out again, and she spoke English, which was extremely useful because that date would not have gone the way that it did, or anywhere near good, if that wasn't the case. So it's tricky. It's tricky in these other countries, but I had a blast. It was a great time. Very fun experience. Part of me did not want to come back, and I do honestly feel like maybe I should go back in the near future just to experience more. I work remotely, so it's on some level feasible, but I just don't know about internet signal in regards to streaming or anything like that, and how I would stream while I was there. How that would even work. But yeah, so that was my trip. I had a great time. The time of my life, one would say, as generic as that is. It was full octane, action-packed. Actually, at one point, I went to the bathroom when we stopped somewhere, and the bus left me. And someone messaged the group chat saying, Stevie, don't worry. We left you, but don't worry, or something like that. And here I am, like in the bathroom trying to change clothes, and I'm like, what? You what? There was one moment in time where I needed to go use an ATM to withdraw money. They use different money. Argentina uses pesos, and in Brazil they use reales. So to have some of the local currency, I needed to use ATMs to exchange cash. In Brazil, I found this weird kind of half sketchy bank with ATMs in it, and some of them were labeled deposit on top, which is not what I was trying to do. One of them was labeled like checking on top, and then there was one with no label on top that another gentleman was using, and I figured, okay, well, if it has no label, it must be like the generic machine that does everything, right? So I go to the back, I put in my card, I'm trying to withdraw some money. It's getting to the point where it's asking me my PIN. I know what my PIN is on this card, so that wasn't a question. I'm pressing the enter key, and the PIN disappears every time I press it. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's like loading, but like it's kind of a jank machine, and there's no like loading circle or bar or box or anything. It's just, maybe it's doing something. But I sat there and I waited on that screen for like 5 minutes, and I was like, nothing is happening here. I canceled the interaction. I typed it in again. I tried again. Sure enough, same thing. I press enter, the password or the PIN disappears. It's not doing what I needed to do. So I said, all right, screw this stupid machine. I'll try a different one. So I put in my card in a different machine. Card is immediately rejected, not compatible, it doesn't work with it. So like the machine that I was using is the only one that's possible, of course. But then, thankfully, because I had tried the other machine, I noticed something very interesting about these ATMs. Let me see if I can find a picture that's similar. Yeah, this will do. This will do. Let me bring up this picture in here. This is just a random ATM, right? But they all kind of look like this. This is what you can expect from them when withdrawing money. So they all have 3 buttons: cancel, clear, and enter. Of course, this particular ATM was in Portuguese because I was in Brazil. Slobskis. Thank you for the 2-month resub, my friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome back to the Crit Club. Thank you for coming back. And hello to you once again. Will's saying Stevie's now bankrupt. No, that's not this story. Okay. So you see these 3 buttons, right? Every ATM has these 3 buttons on it. Obviously, mine was in Portuguese, so I didn't really know what the yellow one even stood for. But you know what the red and the green do, duh. But when I looked between these 2 machines, side by side, the one that does absolutely nothing with my card, and the one that accepts my card but doesn't seem to progress through the interaction properly, I noticed something very interesting. The keycaps on the machine that took my card but didn't enter were different. These were not new ATMs. These were ATMs that had been there. Which tells me that this do-it-all ATM has had jank buttons for years. And the green enter button is swapped with the yellow clear button. So here I am typing in my PIN and pressing the green enter button, and it's clearing the PIN. So once I figured that out, like Sherlock Holmes, I said, okay, I need to press the yellow button, and it should give me my money. And sure enough, thank the Lord, it did, and I got my money. But that's what I mean. I couldn't even use an ATM on this trip without a wacky story happening because of it. It was thoroughly enjoyable. I enjoyed it. We having a debate about women in here? Kristen says, I haven't gotten lucky in 10 years. Then it's something about your approach, my friend, that you got to figure out. Go to Brazil, Tristan. That's the key, apparently. Not necessarily, but maybe. Were you the problem child of the group, Stevie? Not exactly. There were other like actual problem children, but I did have my moments, actually. I think I was the most cartoon character version of myself that I have ever been on this trip. And there's something so hilarious about that and entertaining that I kind of love it, honestly. This trip kind of felt like the adult progressed version of like a school field trip, except this time like things actually kind of went the way that you would hope that they would go, where like, you know, if you were attracted to somebody, like maybe you had a chance, or like fun things could happen, or, you know, without all that like high school angst and drama and depression and sadness when things don't really go the way that you want them to. This was like the full, what do you call it? The completion of the loop, where instead this time it was really fun and really good. So yeah. But yeah, I had my problem child moments for sure on this trip, which is unusual for me actually, but I found it very funny and I'm glad it happened that way. Veronica says, believe it or not, a lot of girls are drawn to personalities over looks. You don't know if you don't try. That's very true. I mean, I think we've all had experiences where you see like a very extremely beautiful girl and she's with like the ugliest dude you have ever seen in your life. And you're thinking to yourself like, how did that happen? But yeah, I mean, it's more about confidence. Confidence is so important, and it's not always easy to have, honestly, because I feel like life does a really good job of beating you down. You know, kids in school will make fun of you for certain things that might develop like complexes that you may have throughout your life. So it's a muscle that you have to work on and not let atrophy to the point where you have none. And really doing wild things like I did on this trip, like whenever you notice an opportunity in your mind of like, you know, if I was the most confident, best version of myself, I would go up to those people and strike up a conversation. I think you just have to get to the point where you start doing that stuff and it becomes like breathing, basically, to where it doesn't matter anymore. You lose that anxiety and that stigma of like, what if I get rejected? Or, you know, what if they laugh at my face? Or what if this is embarrassing? Or any of that stuff. It just, you have to get to the point where that doesn't matter anymore at all and just have fun. And I think that's a really great place to be. And that's when things tend to work out. You got back today or was it earlier? I got back Thursday. Is that yesterday? It's not yesterday anymore, but yeah, I got back Thursday. I've been very tired since. The people on these trips are always looking to hook up, so chances go up. That is true. Personally, I didn't actively pursue anybody within my group. There were women that I thought were attractive in the group that was with me, but in our particular group, there were a lot of people that had boyfriends at home or were there with their partner. And some of those were the people that I was the most excited about. So that was a little unfortunate. But it's also kind of weird. Like, I didn't want to be sleazy about it, where it's like you start trying to get to know one person and then you start trying to get to know another person. And so I almost felt that it was better to just more try to see what the locals were like instead. Why be confident when you can just be funny? That's true. Funny goes a long way. You seem tired, but I'm glad you had fun. Now I want to look into a trip. I'm not paid. I'm not sponsored. But the group that I went with is called Kentucky. It is I think they're out of Australia, but they basically have a bunch of different trips around the world that you can sign up for. For my particular one, I think I paid about $2.5 grand for the actual trip itself. There were also optional activities like I talked about throughout this stream, where you basically pay extra money to do different things. I think I paid about $800 or $900 on top of that to do those, because I did a lot of them. I kind of just did everything I could for the most part on the trip. And for my particular trip, all of the in-country, in South America travel was paid for in terms of the flights, but I had to pay for a plane ticket to get there and to get home. So like the first flight and the ending flight, there and back, I had to pay for. So all in all, it was probably about a bit over $4 grand, which is a bit on the pricier side. It didn't need to be. It could have been about $3,500, I think. You know, if the trip itself was around $2,000, $2,500, and then I think my plane tickets that I'd got were about around $1,000, somewhere around there, for good ones to South America. So it depends on where you go, though, too. You might find a cheaper trip or cheaper tickets or something like that, but it was nice. It was very it's very cool. I would definitely do another one. I would probably wait a year to save up some more money again, obviously, and I don't want to take more time off right now, but I think I would absolutely do another one. So I look forward to it for sure. They will pursue you and then some, even with partners. Now, I understand what you're saying, maybe with some groups, but in this particular group, people were very measured and loyal. So as far as I know, nothing questionable like that was going on. It's always nice to feel like you're with good people, though, like decent human beings, you know? I refuse to date unless Tharja becomes real. I saw a video of a lady who wants to marry her chandelier. You can just get a body pillow valence. You could find a real life girl that looks like Tharja. Goosephone did a pretty good Tharja cosplay. I don't think you really want somebody staring at you while you're sleeping, though. And experimenting with the dark arts. Stevie missed the group orgy during his Brazil date. Maybe I did. Maybe I did. I guess. Yeah. But yeah, what did I miss? I've been kind of away for 2 weeks. So I know we had a Nintendo Direct. It did not reveal Genealogy of the Holy War as a remake or another Fire Emblem title in general. So I know some people were disappointed about that. We were talking early on in this stream about maybe why that happened, especially with Engage's DLC. Because in particular, they really seem to have rushed Engage's DLC, the timeline of it. I mean, we could have received Wave 4 like now, and I think that would have been a little bit healthier, more healthy for the game, unless they knew via like numbers that the game was going to die off sooner. But to me, like if you save DLC for later, you could basically guarantee to have more interest or a resurgence of interest later. So I just don't really get the approach of rolling it all out within the span of a couple months like they did, because then the game is dead and it's dead forever basically, and that's it. That was it. Just a quick flash in the pan game and it's over. Even with 3 houses with the DLC, it came out in what, late July 2019, 3 houses, and the final DLC with Abyss mode, the other new Cindered Shadows side story basically, that didn't come out until the spring of the next year. So you had like at least like 6 months. I don't remember what exact month it came out during, but they did not do that for Engage. And so something was very clearly a little weird about that. I don't know why they decided to rush it exactly, but my thought at the time was they must be rushing it because Engage was supposed to come out at some point early on during COVID. Like that game was ready and prepped and packed for a while. So they are like actually behind, no, ahead of the curve on releases, I feel. So I was wondering like, oh, well, if they're rushing all this DLC for Engage, they want to get Engage out of the way. Maybe it's because they already have the next thing lined up and ready to come out soon. So get Engage out of the way, get a little bit of time in between because you rushed it and got rid of it faster, and then drop the next big thing. And part of me still does kind of believe that that's the case. However, I think maybe what happened was at some point in the last year or two, it became clear to the team that the new Nintendo Switch that's going to be coming out next year was very much on the horizon. And so maybe they were working on the next Fire Emblem game, which could potentially be a genealogy of the Holy War remake, which I think a lot of people hope that it is. And I think it would make sense because it lined up with the 25th anniversary around, I think it might have been 2021. So it makes a lot of sense. It's next in line to be remade. We've been getting a lot of genealogy and Thracia love in the past while. So I think it just makes a lot of sense. Sigurd is now, because of his role in Engage, a more well-known character, I would say, to the average Fire Emblem fan. And I honestly wonder sometimes if they did that on purpose in Engage by making him the like leader of the rings, essentially, in certain ways. And maybe that was all strategic. But personally, I do believe that a genealogy remake is on the horizon. I think maybe they just decided to delay it and maybe port it to the new Switch hardware, since that console is going to be coming out really soon. Because you always see these stories throughout the years of games that came out near the end of consoles' lifespans. And it's always pretty unfortunate because their sales are always lower. Even if they're great, amazing games, they might go completely unnoticed or unbought or fall to the wayside simply because people are on to the next bigger, brighter, shinier thing. The Switch 2, the new Switch, the Switch double switch tap, switch glitch. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Whatever they come up with a name for it. Oh, good night, Veronica. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, so I still have hope. I still have faith. I just think maybe they changed the Switch. Yeah. Super Switch Bros Deluxe. Super Switch. Yeah. Let's see what they come up with for the name of it. But I think maybe that's what happened is they decided they didn't want to release it at the end of the Switch's lifespan and instead focus on bringing it to the new Switch for next year. So maybe that's just going to be how it goes. A lot of people don't think they can get into a remake because they didn't play the original, unfortunately. That may be the case, but I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory that it's a remade new experience that you shouldn't need any context from the original to play. I don't know. But I am getting tired, so we're going to wrap up here in a few minutes. I managed to talk for 2.5 hours just with my stories. Interesting. I hope you found it entertaining. I'll stick around and chat with you guys for a couple more minutes if you have any questions or want to talk about anything in particular. But I should head to bed. I am tired. Sigurd was more important than Marth in Engage. He was. He absolutely was. My first Fire Emblem was Echoes in 2019. Echoes was a great vibe and experience, and so I hope Genealogy gets a very similar treatment and also reaction by the fan base. I think there are some people that don't like Echoes, but I think for the most part, nobody can doubt its presentation, its fluidity. Everything is very superb, I feel. I was very impressed with Echoes when it came out. Next season of XCOM, when? Asks Exotic Rebellious Gamer. It may not be next week, maybe the following week after that, because we'll probably kick off next week with some more Conquest once again. And then there's some Fire Emblem Hero stuff we could do, or maybe I'll try something new for Wednesday. We'll have to see what I'm feeling. But we will get back to XCOM, so thank you for asking. I missed your stories. I was building a cardboard cat castle. You can go back in the VOD and find it, Elvia. That's fun, though. Yeah, it's always funny with cats because you can buy them those complex cat farm thingies. But some cats don't do that, and they just would much rather play with the box instead. The cat, my family cat that we had, unfortunately, she passed away a few years ago. I still miss her. She was like too smart to be a normal cat. She was honestly like a human being in a cat body. And so we would buy her stuff like that and do the typical cat things with her, and she just wouldn't do it. Or she'd do it for like a minute and then be bored. Because her brain was too complex, too developed. My cats always prefer the boxes. Yeah, they do. We literally have a cat tower. I just got off work and felt like doing something brainless. Nice. Kevin Triforce, 6 months with a 3-month streak. Thank you, my friend. Cheers. Welcome back to the Crit Crew. Thank you for the welcome back wishes. How are you doing, Kevin? Sorry for your loss. Yeah, thank you, Elvia. Yeah, so our family cat we had, she was in her late teens for sure. She was probably like, let's see, I think we got her in like 2003. I think she was about 17 years old when she passed away. Ultimately, I do think it's for the best. I think that she kind of knew it was the right time to go because my parents were selling the house. They were moving down south to a different state. And my brother and I were going to be displaced for a bit. And so this 17-year-old cat would have had to come with us to a family member's house that we were staying at for a while, who doesn't like animals. And also, after living in that same house, basically, for like 17 years, this, older cat would have to completely adjust to a new environment. And it would have been chaos. And so it kind of worked out for the best. She passed away like right before we were out of that house. So it's sad. I miss her a lot. At some point, I want to get another pet, but it's tough if you want to travel because I don't want the guilt of leaving animals and stuff behind. And I don't want to replace her. I kind of just want our same cat back, Phoebe. I miss her. Thoughts on Brazilian Lynn? Lynn but Brazilian. Stevie's 2 favorite things. Someone's gonna be upset about this, but yeah, if Lynn had darker hair, I think she would be hotter. I think that would help. I think Brazilian Lynn would be hotter than normal Lynn. Lynn's never been like my ultimate favorite. Like, yeah, everybody who started with Fire Emblem 7 definitely immediately liked Lynn and felt that she was like a waifu, but since then, Lynn has never been like the top of my list. So I actually do think that would help. I do. Just bring her back like the corrupted, says Will about the cat, my cat BB. Ew. I mean, there's probably art out there somewhere of a Brazilian Lynn. Let me take a quick peek here. Out of sheer curiosity. I ain't seen it. Yeah. I mean, maybe on some of those horrific, questionable websites, perhaps. Yeah, I'm not looking there, though. I'm looking on Google. So, Stevie, for your next trip, come to Anime Dallas next year. I would be open to conventions again. We'll have to see. I'd like to get a group together again and maybe do a panel. It'd be fun.
Don't let your kids watch Stevie. Before you know it, they're gonna be playing Fire Emblem. They'll be arguing and gatekeeping and whining and drooling. Hoo, and being weebs.
And wanting to travel to Brazil. She sounds too nasally. Lynn? Sure. Alrighty, guys. Well, with that said, I do want to thank you for joining me. I'm going to call it here tonight because I actually should get some sleep. Gonna wake up for something tomorrow. And I'm on a weird schedule since the plane. And I didn't sleep on the overnight flights at all. So that's like 9 hours Wednesday evening into Thursday that I did not sleep. So I'm still a little behind. But thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the stories. I tried to be measured in telling them. Some things should stay in Brazil probably, but I told you more than I thought I was going to. So I hope that was fun. It's nice to see you again. Thank you so much for the warm welcome back. I will probably see you Monday for some Fire Emblem Conquest. Shout out to Kevin Triforce, Miss Modern Mayhem, The Exotic Rebellious Gamer, Elvia, Valens, Roy the Boy, Will, Mercenary BDU, Tempest. That's a pulse. That's got to be fixed.
You're fired.
Luoma. Pretty sure I said Tristan already, if I'm not mistaken. I think I said Tempest, right? Who else? We had Veronica tonight. Segoy Boy. Oil Leak was here.
Bruh.
Henke was here. Deep Freeze. Reen was here. Tara Von Regan was here. Sorry, Tara, I missed you. Troops was here at 1.2, I think. We had Gamer Swordsman was here. Who else? Who am I missing? I know there's more names I saw tonight. But I'm running out of chat to scroll back through. Yeah, I think that's going to have to do it. Anybody I missed here at the bottom? Jay Miggy. Missed you, sorry. But thank you so much, guys. Like I said, hope you had fun. I'll see you Monday. Have a great weekend ahead of you. Thank you for the warm wishes back. It's good to be back, although part of me doesn't want to be back. But that's okay. We have a life. We have a job to continue working. And I actually like streaming and stuff. So yeah, I'll keep doing it. But good night, folks. Thank you so much. I will see you next time.